So, JuJuan Buford here having a marathon day at Avalon, sipping coffee, making phone calls, taking notes, the whole 9 yards, helping business owners do their thing. And I was reflecting on a conversation I had recently with a young lady who inquired and asked me, when should you go into business? If you should go into business, and if you do, how do you decide what you should be doing, right? Or whether or not you even cut out for it, right? I mean, that was pretty much the gist of the exchange. And I guess at the end of the day, it's a couple things that I would bring to everyone's attention or anyone's attention is stepping in entrepreneur for the first time. And number one, look, if the venture you're thinking about going into doesn't tap into a serious passion, if it's not a strength of yours, don't do it. I remember reading a book recently, I think it might have been John C. Maxwell's Leadership Gold, where he quoted, the name escapes me, the CEO of, former CEO and now chairman of GE, where he talks about the ideal of, look, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't do it. Well, you know what, passion and it's a competitive advantage. Playing to your strengths, that gives you a competitive advantage. If you don't have that, don't do it. Because here's the thing about entrepreneurship. It's a lot more difficult than people think it is. Certainly the juice is worth the squeeze. As a successful business owner and entrepreneur, you get to live a lifestyle. You get to have a certain degree of agency and control. You get to have a certain type of impact that the average Joe just typically isn't going to have the opportunity to make. But at the same time, there's a price for it, right? There are going to be some long nights. There's going to be disappointment. There's going to be failures. There's going to be an unreal amount of hateration, right? Individuals who seem like they're being compensated to criticize you sometimes. And, you're going to have a certain degree, you're going to have a certain degree of endurance and belief that the average Joe typically can't muster up. And so if you're not passionate about what it is you're doing, if you're not 100% sold on the fact that, the area you're operating in or the endeavor you're getting ready to involve yourself in plays on your strengths, that's going to be a problem. Because you're going to have to go to the well time and time again, and it just can't be empty. Sometimes it's just going to be on you, right? Maybe even your family, the spouse, even your own children will look at you sideways like, why are you doing this? And so you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and still have belief. So number one, you got to definitely tap into a passion, tap into a strength, tap into something that gives you energy, even when you don't feel like things are going your way, right? The next thing is, look, don't be myopic. Pay attention to the universe. Pay attention to the marketplace. Pay attention to some of your family and friends sometimes, right? They'll tell you what your strengths are. You don't necessarily need to volunteer exactly what it is you're doing, but if you can just ask them, look, what do you think I'm good at? What are some of my gifts? What are some of my talents, right? Kind of do an informal interview with individuals or a query, right? They'll reveal some things to you that will give you some insight as to whether or not you should proceed with a venture, or at least give you an ideal as to whether or not there's a tough hill to climb, right? The bottom line is, if you're a 5 on the Richter scale at a particular talent or goal, it's very difficult to go from a 5 to a 10, right? If you just don't have the talent, you don't have it. If you're not gifted in a certain way, you just don't have it. Which means you're going to spend a lot of energy, a lot of money, and a lot of time. You're going to be competing against people who have the right stuff, right? So you just want to be cognizant of that. You want to make sure that, you're an 8. Or maybe you're a 7 with a lot of upside, right? Maybe there's this thing that just comes relatively easy to you. Maybe you have an insight the average Joe just doesn't exhibit, right? Pay attention to that, right? And then, of course, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to say it time and time again, choose something that you're excellent at. I mean, the bottom line is, yes, the world does pay for $2 burgers, but they don't pay top dollar for $2 burgers, right? And at the end of the day, you want to be like a 5-star restaurant, right? You're looking for individuals who are willing to patronize you regardless of the cost, who value what it is you're bringing to the table, who understand your value proposition, don't need to be convinced that what you're doing is worthwhile and worth paying top dollar for. And the bottom line is, people pay top dollar for excellence, right? No one goes to a theater to see a bad movie. No one wants to pay $15 or $20 for a bad CD. right? No one wants to pay top dollar to eat some terrible food and have a bad experience at a restaurant, right? People pay top dollar for top shelf service and top shelf experiences. So make sure whatever you do it in excellence, right? That's not always easy to do, but commit to that. And if you're not excellent, commit to getting there, right? And in terms of just a general overview of advice I would give, I think that would be it. The advice I would share with any and everyone who's thinking about jumping into entrepreneurship.